What happens when you give a few guys sharp knives, microphones, and beers? You get the Badger Security and Survival Podcast, where we break down survival and give you tips and strategies to help you prepare for the unknown. Let's do this.
Hey guys, Custom Badger Security and Survival. Today, we're talking about nukes, part 2. Episode 26. I'm here with Jonathan Romick.
Hey.
And Clay Bros.
Oh, hey.
How you guys doing today?
Good.
Good.
We couldn't fit the nuclear situation, so we call it, right? Nuclear situation?
Yep, nuclear situation.
Into one podcast.
Correct.
We're not really talking about nukes per se. We're talking about effects of
Yeah,
nukes.
we're done off the so-called basics.
We covered the basics.
Moving on to the EMP life.
Right.
Well, we wanted to cover EMP.
Oh, we're covering EMP.
Because
You didn't cover my EMP.
We don't want things here. We do things here.
we didn't want to cover EMP in the first one because it was going to be, 7 hours long.
Well,
Yeah,
and
easy.
People separate the two, even though they're not mutually exclusive. They separate an EMP attack versus an actual nuclear bombing. Especially in that community, there are more people worried about an EMP than there are a nuclear attack these days. Which, in reality,
I think
the largest effect of an EMP would be from a nuclear weapon.
Well, yeah, because
which you would end up with part 25 talk.
The nuclear weapons are more likely to happen than like a CME or something like
Correct.
that.
Right. Well,
Or something like the sun.
Right.
Like a coronal mass ejection or some
Right.
sort of solar
Exactly.
flare.
Exactly. Which
Those who are
and
not familiar with the term CME. I didn't just Google that either.
boom.
That's
His
up
phone's
here.
on the table. I'll vouch for that.
Steel trap.
We'll go with soft iron.
Aluminum.
But
Aluminum.
I mean, the problem is that we haven't had instruments long enough to have a good standard of study for how often those types of circumstances
they
happen.
do know that there was issue when they were testing weapons, the nuclear weapons. There was effects caused by. That's how they know it happens.
Right.
But those are moderately small compared to what they have now. So we don't know the effects from. I mean, it's 55,000 times worse. I mean,
We have a general idea, but nobody knows the true level or implications of all of that.
I just get the feeling that people are more worried about the EMP effect from a nuclear detonation than they are worried about the
definitely.
radiological contamination or the detonation itself, which is
Right. I mean, it's still a nuclear weapon going off in the atmosphere. It's still back to that other podcast that we were talking about, the mutually assured destruction. They still launched a nuke. Whether they detonated on the ground or in the atmosphere, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's still pretty much endgame.
That's the other thing I heard.
Highlighter
too, is
reference.
They have a nuclear weapon. They could just use it as EMP. No, they're not going to. They're not going to.
No.
A high altitude detonation is going to cause a wave ripple effect kind of thing. Like that's.
Well, and that's unfortunate.
Why would? Because you're still even at a high altitude detonation. Like, what are we talking? Like, I don't understand. I don't know enough about EMPs to talk about it, but I know a wave.
And nobody does. That's the
I
point.
understand waves, but
Right. When they talk about EMPs from a nuclear detonation, they're talking about tests that were conducted years and years ago.
Yeah, Manhattan
from
Project stuff.
Right. From sources that don't have protectors from surges, that don't have grounding, that don't have anything. To be honest with you, the idea of a Faraday cage is all conceptual. There is no factual proof besides it grounds waves of electricity.
right.
That's it. There is no factual proof that would prevent your electronics from being destroyed. And I think this is one of the largest fallacies we have in, or I wouldn't say fallacy, but I did. But I would say conundrums. That's a better word.
Yeah, conundrum's a good one.
I think that there is no factual proof saying that an EMP would destroy your electronics, for one, and two, a Faraday cage would stop it. I mean, it can't hurt.
But everything's grounded now.
But everything is grounded, exactly.
Your
car is
well,
grounded.
I guess not everything. There's still places around that are built pre predated, but
most
everything was grounded.
How would
most everything had a surge protector?
Yeah, exactly. The surge protector is my point. A transformer is more likely to blow on a power line. Like, people are worried about it, a detonation happening and it just knocking out the entire power grid, where all of these protections are in place for a reason.
It's no different than a surge from a lightning strike, like you said, or something like that.
Right.
The GFCI, the
GFCI, I think.
GFCI.
That's right.
That triggers it. That's what it's for. It saves your electronics, because that would essentially...
Right. They've had surge protectors since I was a kid. I remember the big, massive, cinder block sized surge protectors.
Yeah, it saved your computers.
And it saves your computers from that type of thing. I mean, I grew up in Hawaii where thunderstorms were...
Yeah, you had to have it.
Yeah, you have to.
If you have a breaker box...
Right.
Like, not fuses, but a breaker box, it's grounded.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. It overpowers it. So that's my point, though, is why is EMP
the main focus of a nuclear detonation versus radiation or the actual blast of a nuclear?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most countries would be more worried about them actually dropping the nuclear weapon than an EMP effect, specifically for that reason.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, the solar flares, the CMEs are different.
Well,
because
a CME by itself that's like that Nick Cage movie with Knowing.
Hey, we don't talk about Nick Cage.
We're not slandering Nick Cage.
We don't talk. His name's not welcome in this podcast.
Oh, jeez, Louise. All right, the name that we do not speak of movie.
He Who Must Not Be Named. Really? That's what we're going with for Nick Cage. He Who Must Not Be Named.
It's Nicholas, by the way. It is Nicholas Cage. Nicholas. Say it right.
Sorry. Well, anyway.
Sorry, Nick Cage. I mean, Nicholas Cage.
Sorry, Mr. Cage, if you're listening.
Mr. Cage, that's much better.
But now you lost me. Oh, anyway, that movie at the end of that, well, that's a CME. That was where it scorched the whole Earth.
Right.
And you guys worried about a damn EMP? Like, I mean, come on.
Be more worried about the temperatures.
More worried about us getting burned alive.
Oh, no, you melted my little walkie-talkie. No, your face is in your lap.
Yeah. Can you imagine living without Facebook for like 10 days?
Yes.
Or longer?
I did it for 10 days. I was going to say I did it for many, many years, actually.
No funny YouTube videos for 2 years?
YouTube isn't Facebook.
It's all the same. It's all technology.
So if we do take the EMP account, say the shockwave is much wider than we anticipated, and North Korea drops a bomb on Chicago. I mean, I said Chicago really because the Bears suck, but I'm just kidding.
Well,
I said they drop it on Chicago.
You're not kidding. They do suck, but
yeah, the Bears suck. Okay, so
that doesn't mean we hope Chicago
we didn't
gets
anticipate
nuked.
how wide that is because they say high altitude detonation is going to destroy Chicago below it. I mean, because it's many megatons of energy.
Force,
so
right?
How wide in that EMP does affect a large area? How do you counteract that?
It's impossible to know. The fact of the matter is that
would you feel safe using a Faraday cage?
I guess I'd feel safer than if I just had it sitting in my nightstand.
Yeah, you have a small amount of hope.
Do you guys, as preppers, have a Faraday cage?
No.
My safe.
My safe, right?
It's all steel and it's grounded.
But
how is that any different?
But it's a keypad. What do you do with that keypad?
I have a key. You take the pad off and there's a key.
Oh, okay, well.
And, I mean, the safe makers aren't dumb. Like, oh, sorry, your battery died.
So they're preppers
yourself. Right. Well, or they're just not retarded. Like, let's build a $1,200 safe.
I saw that on Facebook the other day.
Yeah, let's build a $1,200 safe that runs off batteries.
The owner actually had a safe. Was asking what happens if an EMP hits in the.
Oh, don't buy from them. They're stupid. Champion safes are awesome, by the way.
But anyway, like I'm just saying, like there's a whole bunch of things that we're not covering, like the after effects of a nuclear weapon, and the EMP was a big one. Because communication to us is big,
right?
Obviously, like that's one of the.
Well, I think the biggest issue with an EMP are vehicles.
That too.
Literally, all modern vehicles are done.
They're
hypothetically.
Hypothetically, yes.
But they're all fused, and they're all grounded. That's the point. Is if the electrical charge doesn't have anywhere to go, that's where it blows up electronics. That's the whole idea
of grounding.
Of grounding, but that's the whole idea of an EMP. An EMP fries electronics because the capacitors have no place to put any of that charge.
Correct.
So if it's grounded, the charge has a place to go. So why would the capacitors blow, and why would your electronics not work?
And this is why we're talking about it. We're speculating.
Right. And that's all it is now.
All the forums and all the Facebook posts is this goes back and forth. Like, you need a Faraday cage, build a Faraday cage, put everything going inside the Faraday cage that you want saved. Right. And it's like, well, how do you know? Because in 1898, the telephone pole or the telegraph poles melted because of some random solar flare, and there was no communication.
Which they speculated happened because they didn't have the technology to measure whether it was an actual solar flare or something within the network itself.
It was pretty widespread, so it had to be something environmental, you'd think.
Right.
Something environmental caused it, I would imagine.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is how often do these things happen? How often does this solar flare happen? That's one registered
event.
Ever. I mean, was that a fluke, or is this something that happens, obviously, not every 100 years, because it would have happened already?
If you look at, even when there's like high solar activity, there's interference, but that's interfering with signals in the satellites and that weird magnetic field kind of situation. But
in case it needs to be said, technology is better than telegraph poles now than it was when that solar
surge protectors,
and fuses and
fuses. Yeah.
If the whole point of a fuse is that if it goes over a certain amperage, it breaks, and you just replace the fuse. So hypothetically,
you're on a surge protector,
right? Hypothetically, you would need to have spare fuses or surge protectors, but you wouldn't need to have spare equipment, which fuses and surge protectors are usually cheaper than radios, firearm equipment, all of these other things that everybody's worried about going out.
Post shit at the fan kind of stuff, and the predated power stations in the the Eastern Seaboard and the Central, because we all know that each power grid is run off like 7 different sectors or 3 different sectors, and they're all based in the 1950s. And if those ever get destroyed, it's going to take. They don't even make the parts anymore.
Right. It was if you take out 2 of the 3, we're screwed.
Which is you can't replace the parts.
Right. Well, and the others can't pick up the load. If you take out 1, we're good. They said there might be some brownouts, but we would be able to
brownouts.
Yeah, that's what they said. It's not blackouts, brownouts. Yeah, I noticed it. But like you had
wait, hold on. What is a brownout?
A brownout is when you have moderate electricity, but it won't be enough to run everything in your home.
Okay, got it.
Blackout is there's no.
Gotta explain these things, man.
And
because that's the first time of me ever hearing that.
Well, there would be like in a community there would be certain houses that would lose power. You get like flickering lights and stuff.
Yeah, I got you.
Right. But if you take out 2 of the 3, like you said, they don't make the parts anymore. They're screwed.
You take out like the Eastern interconnection, I think it's called.
I mean, I'm not screwed.
Well, that's why
Right.
Well, you take out the Eastern interconnection, you're talking about the whole East Coast. There's no way that Midwest or that Central, the Texas interconnection, I think, is the southern one. That's correct. There's no way it's going to take. It can cover that because it obviously is covering a sector, but But you can't fix it.
The thing that I was getting at though was electricity is like water. It follows the most natural and easiest path. That's just a fact. It follows the most conductive path. So if you have grounded things everywhere in your community, every house is grounded, every car is grounded, why would it go to a small device in your pocket rather than hit your house and hit your wiring that's in the walls and be grounded?
Well, I think the envision of this EMP is one encompassing bubble, like this huge 360-degree...
From the detonation point in the atmosphere,
right?
360 degrees in a mile.
Right. It's not. It's direct. It travels the curve of the Earth too, which that's not how that's not how, like waves to me work. It's gonna whatever sides to the wave is gonna transfer over top,
right,
and follow. It's not gonna travel the curvature of the Earth.
No, it's gonna be
it's
parallel
to. It's gonna be shot out into space. So I don't understand I don't understand how the wave would work. I don't.
Right, it's not.
That's why my education here is like.
It's not a shaped charge. It's not facing down towards the ground. And EMP a mile radius.
We understand how like a sound wave works, which I'm pretty sure it's how an EMP would travel in space. If it's even from a nuke detonation, it's energy. travels one way, it's going to hit a sphere and glance off. It's not going to curve around it.
Sound is frequency in waves, and a pulse implies frequency in waves. Right. So you would think it would. You would think it would move the same way.
So whatever's facing the source is going to be most affected.
Correct.
And it's not going to travel the face of the Earth.
No. It's not. It's not going to.
So the pulse that affected telegraph poles in the United States essentially didn't
ungrounded telegraph poles.
Right. Whatever, it didn't affect the polar opposite. Essentially. Right. If they had telegraph poles, because I don't know who had telegraph poles.
We are obviously not scientists, and if any of you are and can tell us that we're wrong, please do.
It's the conversation.
Please do, because I just don't understand how electricity in the atmosphere or in the air around us would not just be immediately grounded by everything available. Lightning rods, vehicles, capacitors that push it into a grounded element. I don't see how that is any different than how we run technology as it is now. Even your phone is grounded to the case. That's how electricity works these days.
Wait, what?
What is an EMP? Electricity?
As
far
as we know, it's an electromagnetic pulse, which implies that it has energy that is an electric component. Again, we're going off of tests and
we're going off of
ancient knowledge,
Google searches and stuff too here. So
right.
I mean, we do, like we said, we do know that there was some interference with when they did the tests, like the Manhattan Project and stuff. But I don't think there was every record of total nothing working.
Yeah.
But even then, how do they know it worked? Because they were using car-ready vehicles and stuff during that time frame. So did the vehicles turn off because
the lights, baby?
Maybe the light,
headlights, or
I don't know.
But even then, if you look at the way those are grounded.
I could see radio interference, radio waves and stuff because you're detonating a nuclear weapon.
Right.
There's obviously stuff going off in the atmosphere, but as far as totally disabling vehicles, what was that? There's a Day After Tomorrow was a good movie. I think it's called Day After Tomorrow. The old, 1980s movie. You've seen that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, with the a all-out nuclear war. Yeah, it follows a couple of groups. Pretty good movie. It's pretty scary actually if you don't ever want to watch it. But yeah, that was one of the things is all the cars shut off, and then the bombs hit because the pulse obviously was faster than the detonation, detonating. From where he was sitting, it was what happened.
The electromagnetic pulse was faster than the actual force of the wave. Right.
So I don't know if that's... But is that accurate? Because
we don't know is the point.
That's what we're talking about.
That's the answer. If you go on YouTube
why is it such a focus?
Go on to Kelsey. Go on to Google and type in EMP research and find me anything from 2016 or 17. I guarantee you there's
type in EMP research?
Yes.
We're doing this live.
I guarantee you that there's not too much that explains anything that we didn't already know again, or doesn't refer to something from research a while ago where this whole scare kind of kicked up again.
Because the only way to test it is to
do it.
Detonate nuclear weapons.
Do it.
Right. Above ground.
Above ground.
Because that's the only way.
And especially in the climate that we're in, again, see our previous podcast, especially in the climate, nobody's testing anything except North Korea. And they're testing delivery mechanisms, not effectiveness of weapons.
They did detonate underground. But what we got here? July 2017, multinational enterprise investment in conflicted effective zones, Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I don't know about this.
Yeah, we're not going to read that.
Yeah.
But the point is there is research into it, but it's all hypothetically and mathematically based. There is no definitive proof, one way or the other, of how that would react against an infrastructure like we have here in the United States.
Just speculation.
Right. It's all speculation, and in reality, if a country was ballsy enough to shoot off a nuclear weapon, they're going to let it hit ground and impact casualties.
Right. 100%. I am not convinced someone's going to let off the nuke weapon just for the EMP.
There is nobody going to do that.
Not a chance.
They're going to let it blow up and let the mass devastation do its work. Because
you're just talking about the EMP effect. You're talking about just the EMP. Like, you're talking about, there's fallout.
Right, but
if it's close enough to have the effect, you're going to have radiation. You're going to have some sort of detonation. Yeah, you're going to.
Right, it's going to be in the atmosphere in the ionosphere. Correct me if I'm wrong, people in comments, but I think all of that would be stuck in the ionosphere and slowly drift down rain style on
it's got to go somewhere. I would imagine.
Right, and that's what I'm saying though is if a country was ballsy enough to shoot off a nuclear weapon, they're not going for EMP effect.
No shot.
They are not going for
death.
They are not going for disabling our infrastructure and invading us. They are going to try and destroy population centers.
Right. They cause havoc. Yeah.
So to me, I think that I'm not super worried about nuclear war. Again, see our previous podcast.
But very unlikely. Yeah.
I'm not. Mutually assured destruction is pretty solid. It's a pretty solid plan.
I just want to hit on that EMP thing. Because that's a huge deal.
But to me, that's bottom of the list. That's what I was getting at.
It's bottom list for me too.
I'm not worried about an EMP. No. I'm really not. I'd be more worried about social unrest. Social collapse. Social and or financial collapse.
Economic collapse followed by social unrest.
I would say economic followed by exactly what you just said. Yeah. That's what I would be more worried about.
Followed by nuclear weapons raining down on you. Everyone's launching nukes.
I suppose that's the next level, but that was very quick. That was very quick. Like,
well, that's a big conversation now too with this North Korea thing. Is what if he just launches the nuclear weapon as an EMP? Well, he only has 3. He's not going to do that. Oh, we're speculating 3, right?
Yeah, we're speculation.
Once again, we're speculating, so
and that's like on the high end of speculation,
which is all anybody's ever doing in this conversation is speculating.
Right.
We're none of us are high level intelligence assets.
Yeah, speak for yourself. Speak for yourself, please.
If someone's detonating a nuclear weapon,
he's not NSA, CIA, or anything.
The last thing I'm thinking about is the damn EMP. If someone's detonating a nuclear weapon anywhere near me,
right. Now, if there was such a thing, Hollywood styles, if there was such a thing that you could
Ocean's 11 or some show.
There was something that was a directional EMP, which.
Well, that was like a short range that we're just
disabled. It was like 20 feet or something, so they could rob a bank or whatever it was.
Like 20 minutes or something like that. Yeah.
Which.
What's the point of that?
Yeah,
just rob a bank.
It was actually robbing a vault and casino. So.
Okay, sorry.
You guys would get your facts together. It would be great.
Was it a Nick Cage movie?
No. You think Nick Cage would ever? You think someone would ever pick Nick Cage to star in an Ocean's movie? Get out of here!
I don't know. He's done a lot of movies.
Nick Cage is trash. Actually. Well, none of his movies are any good.
Nick Cage only ever plays
Con Air.
Yeah, you are on crack.
Face Off.
Wow.
What? Maybe.
Although since basically like 2005, Nick Cage.
National Treasure.
Okay, you're on your own on that one.
I'm actually on my own on all of those. Those are pretty bad.
I don't know, but
in
a lot of those movies until recently,
Con Air was okay.
He played a character.
I like Con Air.
Face Off was okay.
I like Con Air.
After about 2005,
Face Off was meh. Con Air was
Face Off came on TBS.
I think Con Air is just classic for me.
Well, but after about 2005, Nick Cage plays Nick Cage. That's it.
He doesn't play a character. Nick Cage scene is him walking off the bus and his hair flowing as he's getting free about to get boarded. Yes, right before he boards.
What was that racing movie? 60 Seconds. Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, I guess that was okay.
Not EMP related.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to be gone in 60 seconds if there was an EMP. So it's related.
There were carbureted vehicles.
Apparently.
And there was carbureted vehicles that would be affected by EMP.
Boom, back on track.
Like,
can you create everything we just
Can you really think of how many of the things you take for granted in life would be gone with an EMP?
But I mean,
it's like everyday things gone.
Everything would be
just gone.
Back to the Stone Age. That's what it would be.
Yeah, gone.
Well, we'd still have steel and.
Well, yeah, but you couldn't create steel without power, though.
We have the ability to.
Well, how are you? Those foundries they're not
Well, especially now.
The foundries, you
you
can create steel, but on a small scale.
Right.
There's no way the foundries can be running without power.
But we have so much already readily available for scavenging.
Yeah, but it'd still be the stuff back to the
right. I see what you mean, though.
You couldn't build with it.
No.
How are you going to transport it?
No, but tools, technology,
even then you can't build it.
Knowledge is all there, which is basically what we're all about.
Right, yeah. They're going to be, obviously, like I'd say, back to the Stone Age, because it's essentially useless unless you can cut. And
we're not saying if social unrest happens, start clubbing wives and dragging them into caves. But
speak for yourself.
We should.
Don't do that.
Speak for
yourself. Don't listen to them.
Speak for yourself.
I don't need to club my wife unless.
Yeah, it's because it's your wife.
Unless she
speak
keeps
for yourself.
Talking and talking and talking.
No, you're right though. Like people just think like flip of the switch or push of a button and it's all there and.
Right, and now it's prep time.
When we talked to some people in Puerto Rico, they've been since that hurricane. There's still people without power.
No kidding, and that was a hurricane.
Essentially, people like obviously there's.
But see, that's destruction of infrastructure. That's
they could have had power if it wasn't so much corruption.
That's a whole.
That's a whole.
There's people there without
destruction of physical lines. That has nothing to do with capacitors, circuit breakers, anything like that. If a transformer blows up, you can put it up. Yeah,
that's be almost similar to. I'm just saying you could get a relation to talk to those people down there. And
right now, imagine that across the United States, where we don't have any clean water. Well, you live in a city of 6 million.
Well, I'm not worried
people.
about like after the fact, I guess, of EMPs because we have FEMA, but.
Enjoy your camp, son.
See you at the FEMA camp.
No, you won't.
No,
actually,
you will not.
But
there's a whole bunch of if that actually happened and that it could actually, I guess it actually could happen.
Yeah, I think it's more of a situation that could happen than like a nuclear attack.
No, I think it's less.
Well, I mean, you
think EMP is less?
I think a natural occurring EMP would be less. Obviously,
a naturally or man-made. I would put that at the bottom of the list for preppers.
Okay, yeah,
no way.
What?
An EMP? Yeah, I would probably put it pretty low.
Way at the bottom.
I think it's more
step above zombie apocalypse.
I think it's more plausible on a small scale.
That is correct. I didn't even think zombie apocalypse because if you think that and you're listening to this channel, pick a different one.
I think it's more plausible than on a small scale.
An EMP on a small scale.
I think it's more plausible.
How would that be a
citywide scale? Like a smaller scale than like national.
But if that was the case, all of these cities and states that have had blackouts for days and weeks on end would have been in that Thunderdome status already.
No.
Blackouts, all of those cities that have had blackouts for 3 plus 4, 5 days, California, New York, that entire coastal sides, they've had days and days and days of blackouts, which would actually replicate
the hurricanes in New York and stuff. Yeah.
They would replicate an EMP, and they were still just fine. It would have to be across the nation.
I think even across the nation, it would still be okay.
Well, it would have to be something of that scale to be. I'm going to go live in the woods style. It would have to be something that large.
Any blackout for a long period of time, they know help is coming. Yes, you'll have those isolated incidents of looting and violence and crazy stuff, like even here, like during the flood.
Right.
I mean, there was actually power.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. But it's going to happen, but if they know what's coming, it's all going to be fixed, is different than, oh shit, like this is done. We're done. Everyone's done. Everyone's dying. That's where the Thunderdome and the spike pads and stuff comes out.
Yeah, you have the vehicles with no doors and it's all frame.
Yeah,
with cow skulls across the hood and
Tina Turner singing sweet songs.
All right, guys, give me your final EMP thoughts to wrap it up.
I think EMP is something to consider, but I think there's other factors involved with EMP that we should be more worried about.
Agreed.
I'm on board with that. I think it should be in the back of your mind, but it shouldn't be what you're prepping for. If you have Faraday cages covering your house, and when you come home and you stick your cell phone in a Faraday cage, you might be prepping for the wrong thing too much. I just think that, like you said, I think perfect example, one step above the zombie apocalypse. natural elements are going to be way, way more effective. And I think that the economic collapse and the inability for a government to take care of its people, which is proven to be historically accurate.
It's happening
right now. It's happening right now across the world, is what you should be prepping for. You should be prepping for people that the have-nots coming after the haves in the story.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be prepping... You should be, but it shouldn't be your primary. Your primary shouldn't be a once-in-a-lifetime event that happens and everything that you've ever made in terms of technology is gone.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Perfect.
All
right, guys, let us know your opinion on this situation. You know, any corrections or disagreements you have with things that were said. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, make yourself ready.
Laters.
Bye-bye.